आज इस वीडियो में हम खान यूनिवर्सिटी एग्जामिनेशन बोर्ड क्लास 11th एग्जामिनेशन अप्रैल में 2018 फिजिक्स पेपर 1 सॉल्व करेंगे. सो लेट्स कम टू आवर क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 ऑफ दिस ईयर. So here we have our first question of this year. The length of the metallic rod is 8.5010 raised to the power 5. हमें यहाँ पर नंबर ऑफ सिग्निफिकेंट फिगर्स बतानी है इस मेजरमेंट के अंदर. So according to the rules, this 8 and 5 are significant, while this 0 is the ending zero of a decimal number that makes this 0 a significant digit. So overall, we have three significant digits in this question, in this expression. So the correct answer for this question is option A. Then we have question number 2. Which of the following shows the correct dimension of velocity, force, and momentum? We know that velocity is displacement over time, and the force is mass time acceleration, and momentum is mass time velocity. So the dimension for the velocity is lt minus 1. The dimension for force dimension for mass is m, and the dimension of acceleration is lt minus 2. This momentum for dimension of mass is m, and for velocity it is lt minus 1. So let's see which option best describes these dimension of these three quantities: lt minus 1 for velocity, mlt minus 2 for force, and mlt minus 1 for momentum. So here we have a correct answer, that is in option C. Then we have question number 3. The rx and ry are the components of the vector r. If rx is positive, the horizontal component is positive and the vertical component is negative. We have to identify the quadrants in which the vector r lies. So horizontal component positive x axis positive है, which mean x यहाँ हमारे पास पॉजिटिव होता है. Then vertical component is negative. So vertical component negative यहाँ it's mean कि हमारा जो vector है it lies in this fourth quadrant of this rectangular plane. So option D for question number 3 is the correct answer. Now let's see question number 4. If the magnitude of the force is 10 Newton, so and the magnitude of its rectangular components fx and fy, so हमें fx और fy इन दोनों components को identify करना है that makes a vector of magnitude 10 units. So we know that the formula for the magnitude of a vector is equal to horizontal component square plus vertical component square and the positive square root of this whole expression. So these are the values of fx and these are the values of fy. So one by one, let's put this fx and fy in this equation to make a resultant of 10 Newton. So let's check this option where fx is equal to 6 and fy is equal to 8. सो अगर हम इन दोनों वैल्यूज़ को सब्स्टिट्यूट करें इस एक्सप्रेशन के अंदर, सो 6 square plus 8 square, that will make this expression 36 plus 64, that is equals to square root of 100, and the 100 is equals to 10 Newton. So these are two components fx and fy that makes a vector of magnitude 10. So the correct answer for this question would be option D. Let's see question number 5. the vector product of two vectors j and I. So vector product है हमारे पास j और I का, which are perpendicular to each other. So obviously j and I are always perpendicular, and for perpendicular vectors the vector product is always maximum. We know that I cross j is equals to k. Similarly, j cross k is equal to I, and k cross I is equal to j. So for vice versa of these vector product, we will get the negative of these vectors. So cross product of j and I is equals to negative of k, as we know that the cross product of I and j is positive k, while for vector product of j cross I, it is equals to negative of k. So the correct answer for this question number 5 we have is option C. Next, we have question number 6. In the given diagram that shows a projectile motion of a ball and the magnitude of the vertical component of velocity will be maximum at which point? हमें बताना है कि वर्टिकल कंपोनेंट ऑफ वेलोसिटी दैट इज वी वाई किस पॉइंट पर फ्रॉम ए बी सी डी किस पॉइंट पे वर्टिकल कंपोनेंट मैक्सिमम होता है. So as we know that the horizontal component always remains constant, velocity का जो horizontal component है वो throughout the projectile motion हमेशा constant रहता है, जिसकी वजह से we say that the horizontal acceleration is also zero. So let's see check about the vertical component of the velocity. So प्रोजेक्टाइल में यहाँ से इस मैक्सिमम हाइट तक पहुँचते हुए जो वेलोसिटी का वर्टिकल कंपोनेंट है वो डिक्रीज होता है. व्हेन इट रीचेस एट द मैक्सिमम हाइट पे पहुंचकर वेलोसिटी का वाई कंपोनेंट अगेन डिक्रीज होते हुए जीरो हो जाता है. एंड व्हेन इट मूव्स डाउनवर्ड वेलोसिटी का वाई कंपोनेंट अब इंक्रीज होना शुरू होता है, एंड जस्ट बिफोर स्ट्राइकिंग द ग्राउंड इट हैज़ द मैक्सिमम वैल्यू. सो यहाँ पहुँचकर जब वो ग्राउंड से स्ट्राइक करेगा प्रोजेक्टाइल, so just before hitting the ground it will have the maximum vertical component of the velocity. So the correct answer for question 6 is option D. Now let's see question number 7. The horizontal range of a projectile will be maximum at what angle? हमें बताना है कि horizontal range that is equals to vi square sine 2 theta divided by g. So this is the expression for the horizontal range of the projectile. So we have to identify at what angle this would be maximum. So for a particular value of initial velocity, the range would be maximum if this sine 2 theta is maximum. साइन टू थीटा की जो वैल्यू है वो मैक्सिमम होगी, तो हमारे पास जो रेंज है पर्टिकुलर वेलोसिटी हमारे पास रेंज मैक्सिमम आएगी. सो द मैक्सिमम वैल्यू ऑफ साइन टू थीटा वी नो दैट इट इज इक्वल टू 1. साइन थीटा की मैक्सिमम वैल्यू हमारे पास 1 होती है. सो एंड वन मोर थिंग दैट साइन थीटा इज इक्वल टू 1 at theta 90 degree. Sine 90 degree is equals to 1. It's mean that this angle should be equals to 90 degree. 2 theta must be equal to 90 degree. So for the value of theta, it would become 45 degrees. So at 45 degree, if we throw a projectile, the range it would get would be maximum. So the correct answer for question number 7 we have is option C, that is at 45 degree the projectile would have the maximum horizontal displacement. Then we have question number 8. In the given figure, three cases are shown in which constant force is trying to move an object. We have to identify that in which case the work done is positive. Work done positive हमें identify करना है, and we know the condition for the positive work, that when force and displacement s are parallel or in the same direction. अगर वर्क force or displacement same direction में हो, so the work done is positive. And one more thing, that if a work force is acting at an angle theta, so we take the horizontal component of force that contribute towards the work. So force and displacement should be in the same direction. So in this case, work done is zero because force is perpendicular to displacement. So this is the incorrect condition. Similarly, for this second condition, if we resolve these component into this force into its component, that it is Fy and this is Fx. So horizontal component of the force is in opposite to the displacement. So in this case, work done will be negative. In the first condition, let's make the component. So this would become Fy and this would become Fx. So Fx and the displacement are in same direction. So the correct answer for this question number 8 would be this first, in which we have the positive work done because force and displacement are in same direction. So correct option we have for this question is option A, that is in only one the work done acting on the body is positive. Then let's come to our question number 9. A satellite is moving at a constant speed in a circular orbit due to gravity. Which of the following statement is correct about the above condition? So here we have a satellite on which a centripetal force is acting towards the center of the circle, and we have to identify that which condition for this type of motion is correct. So all the options describes the work, and we know that work is positive when the force is parallel to the displacement. Work is negative when the force and displacement are opposite to each other, while work is zero when force is perpendicular to the displacement. So in this case, the satellite is moving in the direction of velocity. So this would also be the direction of displacement. And this is the force that is acting towards the center of the circle, and it is always tangent to the circular path that makes 90 degrees. So for that case, the work done would become zero because force is perpendicular to the displacement of this satellite. This makes the option A correct statement, that the earth does zero work on this satellite, and the reason is that force is perpendicular to displacement. Then we have question number 10. A packet of mass m is unloaded from a truck by using an inclined plane from a height h as shown in figure. If the friction is negligible, then the kinetic energy on the packet when it reaches the ground will be equals to what? So this is the point on the ground where we have to find the identify the kinetic energy of the body. We know that kinetic energy is equals to mv square divided by 2, and we have no option that describes mv square upon 2. We know that if the friction is negligible, so change in potential energy is equals to gain in kinetic energy, or we can also state this principle as loss in potential energy is equal to gain in kinetic energy. If there is no loss in the friction, this is known as the work energy principle. So at highest point, the body has a potential energy that is equals to mgh, and by moving down the slope, when it reaches the ground, all its kinetic energy will be converted, all its potential energy at the height h will be converted into the total kinetic energy on the ground. So this kinetic energy would be equals to mgh in this case, if there is no friction or there is no loss of energy. So correct answer for this question number 10 would be option B. Then let's come to our question number 11. An object experiences a free fall motion in which body falls downward due to the gravitational force applied by the earth. Which of the following statements are true with respect to the work done by the gravitational force and the potential energy U? इन दोनों के ऊपर क्या फर्क पड़ेगा? So we know that this, if this body is falling downward, so this is the direction of displacement, while this is the same direction is for the gravitational force as well. So the work done by the gravitational force by the gravitational force on that body will be positive, because force and displacement are in the same direction, or they are parallel to each other. So work done will be positive. So if we talk about the potential energy, that depends on the height mgh. As this body falls downward, its height decreases. If the height decreases, that decreases the potential energy of the body. So as the body falls, its potential energy decreases while work done remains positive. So the correct answer for this question number 11 would be option A, in which work done is positive while potential energy decreases. Then we have question number 12. The velocity which keeps the satellite in an orbit is known as orbital velocity. उस velocity को हम orbital velocity कहते हैं. सो वो वेलोसिटी, जिस वेलोसिटी से हम किसी भी सैटेलाइट को लॉन्च करते हैं, द हॉरिजॉन्टल वेलोसिटी, द हॉरिजॉन्टल लॉन्चिंग वेलोसिटी ऑफ अ सैटेलाइट टू मूव इट इन अ पर्टिकुलर ऑर्बिट अराउंड द अर्थ, this velocity is known as orbital velocity, as well as this is known as critical velocity. ये वो मिनिमम वेलोसिटी होती है जिससे हम किसी भी सैटेलाइट को लॉन्च करते हैं. हॉरिजॉन्टल वेलोसिटी होती है जिससे हम अर्थ से सैटेलाइट को लॉन्च करते हैं टू मूव इट इन अ पर्टिकुलर orbit or particular path around the earth. So the correct option for question number 12 is option B. Let's come to our question number 13. In the given diagram, an object is rotating with a speed which is increasing. एक ऑब्जेक्ट जो कि सर्कुलर पाथ में मूव कर रहा है और उसकी स्पीड इंक्रीज हो रही है. The angular acceleration of the object is in the same direction as of which quantity? So we know that the angular displacement theta, the angular velocity omega, and the angular acceleration alpha. These all have the same direction, and the direction is along the axis of rotation. इन तमाम क्वांटिटीज़ की जो डायरेक्शन है वो अलोंग द एक्सिस ऑफ रोटेशन होती है, दैट कैन बी फाउंड बाय यूजिंग राइट हैंड रूल. राइट हैंड रूल की मदद से हम इसे फाइंड आउट कर सकते हैं, आइदर इन विच थंब पॉइंट्स टू द डायरेक्शन ऑफ दीज एंगुलर quantities. So these all are in the same direction, and the correct answer is angular velocity omega, that is in option A. The direction of angular displacement, angular velocity, and angular acceleration would be same, that is present in our option A. Then we have question number 14. The angle subtended at the center of the circle by a particle moving along its circumference of a circle in a given time is known as which quantity? So, if a body is moving in a particular circular path, let's say this is the starting point of a particle p, and at a certain time it has covered the displacement and reaches the particle at this position. So the angle subtended at the center is known as angular displacement, and this angular displacement is represented by the theta. And this angular displacement in a given time, so theta over t. This quantity is known as angular velocity. So theta over time is known as angular velocity, and this angle subtended at the center of the circle is known as angular displacement. So the correct answer for this question number 14 is option D. Then we have question number 15. Which of the following is used to obtain a smooth motion? इस किस टाइप के अंदर हमारे पास एक स्मूथ मोशन मौजूद होता है? दैट इज इन ऑप्शन डी, स्ट्रीम लाइन इन विच एवरी पार्टिकल्स मूव अलोंग अ स्ट्रेट लाइन. तमाम पार्टिकल्स एक स्ट्रेट लाइन के अंदर मूव करते हैं फ्लूइड्स के अंदर. दिस मेक्स द फ्लूइड और द मोशन स्ट्रीम लाइन. Then we have question number 16. At which cross sectional area of the given pipe the water flow is fastest? So we have the relation between the cross sectional area and the velocity, and this relation is known as equation of continuity, that states that the lesser will be the area, greater will be the velocity of the particles or the fluids passing through that area. So as we can see in region 2, there is less area that makes the particles of the fluid to move faster through this region. So the correct option is option B, 2 only. Then we have question number 17. The time period of the pendulum is independent of which quantity? So time period is represented by the formula 2 pi square root L over G. So as we can see that time period is directly proportional to square root of L, while it is inversely proportional to square root of gravitational acceleration. So it is independent of the mass of the pendulum. It is independent of the mass. It depends on length of the pendulum. It depends on the acceleration due to gravity. We have to find the independent factor that makes the condition 1 or the option 1 correct. So the option A, 1 only, is the right answer for this question number 17. Question number 18. If a body executing simple harmonic motion SHM, the total energy of the body is directly proportional to which of the following factors? So we know that the total energy in a body that executes simple harmonic motion is equal to half kx square, where k is known as a constant, while this x naught is the amplitude or maximum displacement that is known as amplitude. So this maximum displacement is our amplitude. So as we can see that energy is directly proportional to x naught square. So the total energy in a simple harmonic motion is directly proportional to square of the amplitude of the vibrating body. Which means the option B is the correct answer. Let's see question number 19. Resonance is a phenomena in which a vibrating system or external force drives an other system to oscillate with a greater amplitude. एक वाइब्रेटिंग बॉडी को हम और ज़्यादा ग्रेटर एम्पलीट्यूड से वाइब्रेट करवा सकते हैं और इस फिनोमिना को हम रेजोनेंस कहते हैं. सो इस मेथड को यूज़ करके हम किसी भी ऑब्जेक्ट की जो नेचुरल फ्रीक्वेंसी है वो फाइंड आउट कर सकते हैं. हर एक ऑब्जेक्ट की एक नेचुरल फ्रीक्वेंसी होती है जिससे वो खुद फ्री वाइब्रेट करता है. अगर हम एक फोर्स वाइब्रेशन की मदद से उस बॉडी को वाइब्रेट करवाने की कोशिश करें एंड इफ़ आवर फोर्स वाइब्रेशन मीट्स द नेचुरल फ्रीक्वेंसी ऑफ दैट बॉडी विल itself starts vibrating with a greater amplitude that could be used to specify its natural frequency. So, the correct answer for question number 19 is option B. Let's see question number 20. Which of the following would undergo the damp oscillation? Which of the following would undergo a damp oscillation, in which damp oscillation is a process in which the amplitude of the vibrating body gradually decreases with time. So, we have studied examples. The most common example of this damp oscillation is the shock absorber of the car that are used to reduce the vibration of the car of the body due to the bumps present on the road. So, correct answer in this question number 20 is option B. Question number 21. Which of the following factors would affects the speed of sound in air? इनमें से कौन से वो फैक्टर्स हैं जो कि साउंड की स्पीड को वेरी करते हैं? सो this density in which velocity of the sound is inversely proportional to the square root of the density of the medium. The temperature velocity of the sound is directly proportional to temperature. While the pressure is a factor that is independent, velocity is independent of the pressure of the medium. So, the correct factor for the speed of sound in air are density and temperature. These two are the factors that can alter the speed of sound in air or any medium. So for question number 21, the correct answer would be option B, 1 and 3. Next, we have question number 22. Is the phenomena of Doppler's effect. When a source moves towards a stationary listener, that results in decrease of which of the quantity. So as we know that if a source of sound is moving towards a listener that is at rest or stationary, so जब source listener की तरफ move करता है with a certain velocity, the sound waves comes closer to each other. जो साउंड वेव्स हैं वो एक दूसरे के करीब आ जाती हैं और कंप्रेस हो जाती हैं, और कंप्रेस होने का मतलब है और वेव्स क्लोज होने का मतलब है दैट इट फ्रीक्वेंसी increases. Frequency उसकी increase हो जाती है. That's the reason that a listener would listen the shrill sound. So increase in frequency will decrease the wavelength of the sound, and velocity remains constant. So the correct answer for this question will be that wavelength of the sound. If a source is moving towards a stationary listener, that increases the frequency while decreasing the wavelength with the constant speed of sound. So correct option we have got option D. Let's come to question number 23. Which phenomena shows the wave nature of light? So light is something that has a dual nature in which light some are the process in which light behave as waves. Simultaneously there are processes in which light behave as particles. लाइट पार्टिकल्स की तरह बिहेव करती है, लाइट साथ साथ वेव्स की तरह बिहेव करती है. दैट इज नोन एज ए डुअल नेचर ऑफ लाइट. Dual nature of light कहलाता है. But at the same time, one more important thing is that these two nature cannot be seen simultaneously through a single experiment. In some experiment, in some processes, light behave as a wave, while some processes in which light behave as a particle. So these two phenomena are the one in which light behave as a wave, while the Compton effect, the photoelectric effect, the pair annihilation, and the other phenomena in which light behave as a particle. So we have to identify the phenomena in which light behave as a wave. So the correct answers are 1 and 2. So we have option A for the correct answer for this question number 23. Let's come to our question number 24. According to the hygiene's principle, light travels in the form of what? So, as we have studied in our hygiene's principle, that states that light waves always travels in the form of wave fronts. So, the correct answer is option 3. So, option B would be the correct answer for this question number 24. Question number 25. When a visible light rays passes through a small opening or of a narrow slit, the longer wavelength as compared to the shorter wavelength of light, they will reflect less, reflect more, or diffract more. So, as we know that when a ray of light passes through the small opening of a narrow slit, that in which the ray of light will diffract, there will be a process of diffraction का process होगा, reflection नहीं होगी. It's mean these are the incorrect option. And we have studied in the diffraction that d sine theta is a diffraction that is equals to n lambda. It's mean that diffraction is directly proportional to wave length. So greater the wavelength, more will be the diffraction of a ray of light. So the correct answer for this question number 25 is option D. Let's see question number 26. According to Boyle's law, pressure is inversely proportional to the volume of a gas. So Boyle's law के according pressure और वॉल्यूम आपस में इन्वर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल होते हैं, बट विद अ कंडीशन दैट द टेम्परेचर ऑफ द गैस रिमेन्स कांस्टेंट. अगर टेम्परेचर कांस्टेंट है तो प्रेशर एंड वॉल्यूम आर डायरेक्टली इन्वर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल टू ईच अदर. सो द करेक्ट आंसर इज ऑप्शन बी, that is 3 only. Let's see question number 27. A thermodynamic process in which ice cube starts melting and converts into water droplets. So here we have a process, thermodynamic process in which ice converts into water. And we know that melting is a process in which there is a change of state from solid to liquid, and the change of state occurs only at constant temperature. If the temperature is constant, then this process can occur while keeping the temperature of its surrounding constant. So this process would be the isothermal process because the temperature in this case remains constant. So the correct answer for question number 27 is option D. Then we have question number 28. According to the second law of thermodynamics, heat can be converted into mechanical work if the system contains two heat reservoir at the same temperature. This is incorrect because heat could not travel between 2 points or two reservoirs at the same temperature, because one of the meaning of the second law of thermodynamics is that it describes the direction of flow of heat, that it always flow from the hot body to a cold body. So this option is incorrect one. uh, Heat can be converted into mechanical work if the system contain two heat reservoirs at different temperature T1 and T2. One could be the temperature of source through which heat is allowing or heat is entering the system, and T2 would be the temperature of the sink in which excess amount of energy or some part of energy that is not converted into the useful work, it goes into the sink. So we should have these 2 points or reservoirs in which one is source and one is sink. So for 28, the option B is the correct answer. Next we have question number 29. A Carnot is an engine that operates on the reversible Carnot cycle. Its efficiency depends upon the temperature of which of this following option. So we know that the efficiency for the Carnot engine is equal to 1 minus T2 over T1 times 100, where T2 is the temperature of cold reservoir while the T1 is the temperature of hot reservoir. दोनों रिजर्वॉयर के टेम्परेचर पर डिपेंड करता है. जितना ज़्यादा डिफरेंस होगा बिटवीन हॉट एंड कोल्ड रिजर्वॉयर्स, द एफिशिएंसी वुड बी मच greater. So the correct answer for this question will be option D, both hot and cold reservoirs. Here we have the last question of this year, question number 30. The entropy is best described as which of the following option? So we have one of the definition of entropy in this option, that entropy is the actually unavailability of the energy in the system. This is one of the definition or the meaning of the entropy, that unavailability of the energy in the system. So the correct answer for this question number 30 is option C.